Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I have some breaking news about Minnesota quarters. Seriously, hang on to any Minnesota quarters you may get in change. They may be worth much more than 25 cents. The U.S. Mint announced yesterday that it is recalling all of the Minnesota quarters that are part of its program featuring quarters from each state. This action is being taken after numerous reports that the new quarters will not work in parking meters, toll booths, vending machines, pay phones, or any other coin-operated devices. Now, the problem lies in the unique makeup of the Minnesota quarter, which was designed by a couple of Norwegian specialists, Fenn and Ole. Apparently, the duct tape holding the 2 dimes and the nickel together keeps jamming up in the machines. There you have it, a news alert. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, call in. And a good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And along with some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Right now, let us go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want you to run to your business till and check and see if you have any of those Minnesota quarters.
The guy tried to pass 2 of them yesterday.
Hey, man, call me back and...
The way you said Ole.
Sven and Ole, you know, they're from the old country back there in Minnesota. And there's a lot of stories I can tell you about Sven and Ole. However, I can't on the radio. So anyway, I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Doug.
Did you hear the hunting song from the Yoopers from Canada?
I have, yes. I certainly have. With Sven and Ole, they're sitting there, a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Thank you.
You bet.
See you later. Oh, my goodness sakes, it's time for the weather. Quickly! And Sven and Ole didn't do that. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Number to call. Find out more, 678-3122. They open the doors at 7 in the morning, and they're there to serve you with all the items you might need, all the tools, all the equipment, all the forklifts, all right down to the lawnmowers. I mean, man alive, they've got it all for you, and they can deliver the tools and equipment to your site and then pick them up after you're done. Hey, call them today, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, it appears that maybe fall has arrived. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We are looking at a 30% chance of rain showers for today, mostly before noon. Other than that, hopefully those rain showers will be moving out. Partly cloudy skies is what we're looking at. High right near 56. Going to be a little bit breezy as well, with a west wind 13 to 22 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 35. Looking at a high of 55 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Winds are going to be dying down just a little bit. More rain showers are expected after midnight with a low of 36. Tomorrow, again, 30% 50% chance of rain showers, mostly afternoon. Other than that, partly sunny skies with a high of 62. Then for Wednesday night, looks like a 50% chance of rain showers, mostly cloudy with the low right near 38. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Great job. Appreciate it. And brought to you by some really good folks, Roger and the crew over there at K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Yep, the number to call, 678-3122. They've been in business since 1979, and they've got the experience and all the tools at K&R Rental. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are really now in a big push for the boots for Texas. We're going to boot Hurricane Harvey out of Texas. Well, I've talked to a lot of the people down there, and they are just, one lady started crying. She was so thankful that we are going to be sending down boots. I ask you, the audience, to go to your closet and check inside the closet. Maybe you've got, and I want good quality boots. Tie them together. And then take them to either your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Twist Family and Paul, or Randy over in Overland. They're going to have a box there, and they will be accepting the boots and or tack items. I talked to a lot of these people down there, horse operations. They've lost everything. They've lost the leather goods. It's all gone. So if you've got like bridles or you've got saddle pads, whatever, that are in good shape, no junk, please. We want to show these people that we really care. And so far, we've got about pretty close to a dozen boots donated, and I want to end up with 100 at least pair of boots, at least. So good quality boots. Take them to Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Twist Family and Paul, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Burley Livestock. They've got a great big sale coming up on Thursday, day after tomorrow, at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for sale information and cattle consignments, 678-9411. Call Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. This is the sale that works for you. Starting time, 11 o'clock, Burley Livestock Sale Yard in Burley. Sale Thursday. Don't you miss it. Also want to say thank you to our friends over at Daryl's Cleaners. It was really kind of funny. A good friend of mine called me on the cell phone yesterday, and he said, I don't have time to wash the clothes. He says, man, my wife and I were on the road all the time. We're gone. And he says, I'm going to start taking them to Daryl's. And I said, well, that's what they're there for. They will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes. And you can't beat that with a stick. They're over there at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Daryl's Cleaners. And boy, if you haven't got your winter coats clean and ready to wear, I think you ought to take care of it. It's getting chillier out there. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see these really good people today. We have Lunch Bunch coming up this week at Denny's Restaurant, and I want to say thank you again to all of our sponsors of the door prizes. And those folks have been so kind to us and everything, from Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, you just heard him give the pledge a little bit ago. And we have a great time at Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant, and we urge you to come and participate. We usually have between, about 50 to 75 people, and a lot of door prizes at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and we thank them for some of the gift certificates, too. And it's America's Diner. Great place to go eat anytime, all the time. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Denny's Restaurant. Thomas Terry, the whole crew serving you at Denny's. I urge you to come on down to Lunch Bunch this Thursday at 11:30. We'll see you there. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There are signs that we are losing our humanity. We are losing our caring. We're losing our civility. And we're losing our respect for life. I was watching television yesterday when I saw some of the representatives of the Oregon State Legislature proudly smiling and saying on a newscast that now Oregon, hold on, caller, I'll be right there. Now Oregon is going to be providing free abortions to all. And under that word all, it also encompasses free abortions to any and all illegal aliens. Now, think about the word free. That is the most disingenuous word I think that we ever use. Somebody, some business, somewhere has to pay for anything that we think is free. And I am absolutely free abortions. I mean, man alive, the human lives. Let's look at it from the human life standpoint. They have no value. They have no value. And I'm sickened by what I heard coming out of Oregon. Caller, I'm going to ask you to stay with me just a minute. I'll be right there. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Now, I'm getting off my bandwagon for air conditioning. I'm going to start telling you to get the filters for your furnaces. They got all your furnace filters over there. Because, man, I'm telling you, turn on the air today and turn it on high. Woo-hoo! Get the coat, Martha. Anyway, it's going to get cool. And all your heating and electrical needs are right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open at 7:30 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday, where, again, they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I am good, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to tell you I'm offended.
I'm sorry.
I was Rasmussen, I'm a Danishman, and my dad's name was Ole.
I hope you're telling me in a facetious manner, because I know about 9,000 Sven and Ole jokes, and none of which I really want to get into on the air this morning.
I'm doing it facetiously.
You do really have a relative named Ole?
Yeah, my dad's middle name was Ole.
You know, one of my best friends back in Wisconsin, where I was born and raised, his dad, his name was Ole. And he used to come over to our farm on Saturday afternoons in the wintertime, and my dad and him would sit out in the barn, and Ole would tell Sven and Ole jokes that just wouldn't quit.
Well, I'm sure.
I wished I had one I could give you on the air, but I can't. God bless you. Thank you for your call. Thank you so much. Nice man right there. Hey, by the way, too, I want to say, boy, some of those Sven and Ole jokes, they are really good, and you get a chuckle, ho-ho, tee-hee, with Sven and Ole. I want to tell you a little bit about our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Yes, I am going to start going back in there, if they'll have me, and I think they will. And I got to work again on my leg. It's causing me a little problem again. And the reason it's causing me problem is I've been doing a little bit more on it than I'm supposed to. Don't tell Deanne. Anyway, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call for an appointment, 678-1191. They can help you. They will help you. They help me get back to being you. Absolutely. And great physical therapists. They know all the exercise. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in the area. I've walked 1,000,000 miles in the bottom of that pool. And, boy, they can help. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in Burley. You give them a call. Stop in. See them today. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I also want to remind you, with the weather changing, you need to be cognizant of what you can do to stay kind of really comfy inside. Well, check out Lennox Home. Great systems inside with their home comfort systems at Ramsey Heating and Electric. All you have to do, and you might be able to qualify for up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox home comfort system. All you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. 888-203-1059. Let's get some calls coming in here. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know what's going to happen tonight? They say it has been predicted on television, and I've heard this since last night on the news, that tonight the worthless mob of Black Lives Matter and some of the hangers-on are supposedly going to, here's the word that one broadcaster used, storm the St. Louis City Hall and go after the mayor. Let me repeat those words again. Black Lives Matter and their worthless mob are going to storm the St. Louis City Hall tonight and go after the mayor. Now, I don't know if you're like I am, but this is enough. This is enough. And the absolutely worthless left taking law into their own hands and creating lawlessness, I hope the police are there in full force and do not give an inch. I certainly hope that they will repel and put down, I mean that literally, Black Lives Matter. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about Pelosi now?
I broke into a laughing fit to the point where I almost fell out of my lazy boy to see Nancy literally encircled, and it was almost like, oh, help me! She couldn't get away from all the dreamers that support the DACA Act, and they were turning on her. Hey, they were turning on a liberal. Oh, it was great TV.
Yeah, it's almost like that Reverend Wright. The chickens have come home to roost.
I tell you what.
That's exactly what happened there.
I tell you, I was absolutely shocked. I really was, to see Nancy Pelosi in a state of total disarray. I mean, the old girl was a little nervous because things weren't going the way that she had choreographed, and they were right there by the podium. I mean, man, they weren't taking 3, 4, 5 feet back. They were right there in her face, and I don't think Nancy's been challenged like that for a long time.
No, she thought that everything was wonderful. You know, San Francisco used to be a sanctuary city for her.
Yeah.
But I don't think so anymore.
You know, Keith, I'll tell you this, and you're leading me right into another story. But how is it, and give me a short answer on this because I've got to get some commercials in, how is it that the illegals in our country, they have come here illegally? They are criminals for breaking the law. How is it that they feel they are entitled to make demands for benefits and rights and freedoms? Just give me a short answer.
Well, it all goes back to the elephant in the tent. Stick his nose in the tent, or the camel, I mean. And pretty soon he's in there, and that's exactly the way they have done it.
Oh, I agree. But I think Nancy got a pretty good taste of what kind of a very dangerous situation the Democrats have unleashed on our society. And I was watching last night, Keith, I was watching a couple of newscasts. I watched one on Tucker Carlson, and then I watched another one on CNN, and they had a couple of illegal dreamers there that were probably in their, mid-20s or whatever. And the one guy in particular absolutely made demands and absolutely said he was entitled to rights and freedoms and benefits in this country. And they believe this.
Well, people get to that point when they've been given so much.
Yeah.
I had a relative that went through a little bit of hard times and was on welfare, and that's when Cadgett County and old Beck was chairman of it, wanted to go to commodities. And she said, they can't do that. We can't do that. And I said, Yes, they can.
Yeah.
You've been given a good thing, but that thing is over with now, and we're going to have to get down to business.
You know, maybe...
Elvis Beck was a great man in that respect. He did what thing was right, and we need more like that in Washington.
Oh, boy, do we ever. Keith, I got to run and do a commercial break, but thank you for bringing up that subject. It was really refreshing, if you will, to see Nancy with her wide eyes and her face that said, "Oh, I'm in trouble." I loved every minute of it. Hey, don't forget, I've been talking to you about Pomerelle Place, and I took a little tour of the place here with my lovely wife about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I want to talk right now to the seniors that are living at home and the risks that you take living alone. I mean, the isolation is bad enough. Safety hazards and injuries for you being alone at home, and poor nutrition. A lot of times, elderly people say, "Oh, well, I'll just have a Pop-Tart or something." And missing medication, all of these things, you really need to consider moving into Pomerelle Place. They really care. Senior living, offering the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. This is a very nice place. Pomerelle Place, a place for senior living, 1301 Bennett Street in Burley, 677-8212. I want to remind everybody, too, that Scott Gano, he's out there with his crew and they're trimming trees. Oh, you can hear the saws just... They're going all over the place and they're doing all the trimming and the pruning. The worst thing you could be doing is having a hot cup of cocoa by your great big bay window this winter and the wind's howling and sickling outside, and all of a sudden, kaboom! One of those big dead branches you thought you were going to take care of, but you forgot. It just went right through the bay window. Well, make sure that everything's taken care of, and of course now also is a great time to put in a new sprinkler system or fix your old one. Yep. Call Gano Landscaping, bit my tongue. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service at 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Two telephone numbers, 438-2485 and 431-8733. You be sure and give them a call today. Real quick, before caller, I'll take your call in a minute. Hang loose, have another sip of cocoa or coffee or whatever you're drinking. I want to remind you about the 101st. This is a long time. Now, Gary Shorsman has assured me that he has not produced all 101. But with anything he does, it's first class. They're going to have the 101st Old Settlers Dinner. This coming Saturday at 11 o'clock check-in, eat at noon at the Rupert Elks Lodge. Great big turkey dinner and all the trimmings, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Last year, they had a packed house. They're looking for more great people this year. For dinner reservations, call my friend Gary Shorsman at 312-1556. That's this Saturday, September 23rd, the Old Settlers Dinner. Going to be a good one. Don't you miss it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You talked about the college there in Oregon, I believe you said, that was going to help fund or said that everybody should be able to get free abortions.
No,
the concern that I have with that is that puts us, we the people, on the same low level as any jihadist, any kamikaze pilot, anyone who has no value for life.
You know, caller, first of all, the state of Oregon legislature has approved this bill, and it's going into effect in the state of Oregon. I mean, it's going to be all over the state, and I agree with you. The value and sanctity and respect of life has now been diminished even more. But here's the point. Free abortions. You know as well as I do, caller, there is no such thing in this good old round spinning world called free.
Exactly. You and I are paying for something that we do not believe in. So, you know, whether it be a religious belief or not, or a moral belief, and I believe it's a moral belief, and yet we are being forced to have to pay for that. I think that is criminal to us, criminal to the unborn child. It is immoral. It is wrong on so many levels.
Well, stop the bus for a minute here, Sharon, because I think we should discuss something else that's connected to this. We are seeing the emergence of a hemlock society in the United States where the value of life is really being diminished, whether it's on the birth with abortions free, and by the way, also all free to illegal aliens, or on the other side of the coin, if Bernie Sanders and his mob get through a single-payer Medicare program where one size fits all, you're going to see a complete devaluing of elderly people and their life care.
Oh, I agree 100%. In fact, I think that that's been going on for quite some time. I know that when I went through chemo, one of the things that was mentioned to me at that point was in a few years from now, when the insurance programs changed more drastically, these doctors knew. They said, you would not get the help you need.
Well, that's exactly true, and I said the one size fits all, and I'll tell you what, I mentioned in my blog last week that if you get a 17-year-old going to a hospital emergency room, maybe with athlete's foot, or a 75-year-old that all of a sudden has heart trauma and they need to do something to keep that person alive, guess which one probably is going to get the money under that single-payer plan?
Yeah.
Sharon, thank you for your call. Drive safely. I just saw you almost touch that speedometer up to 60. You can't drive that fast.
I know, it's terrible.
Okay, see you later.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. I talked to Juan yesterday, as a matter of fact. He's a football coach there at Burley. And he's also right there at the Burley location of Berry Equipment and Rental at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. And the other two locations are at South Lincoln and Jerome and Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls. They do have all the equipment to get the job done right. And I keep mentioning they've got all the Bobcat excavators. All shapes and sizes. New and used excavators for sale or rent. They've got all the equipment over the big Doosan loaders. They've got them all. Equipment rentals, retail equipment sales at Berry Equipment and Rental. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West Twin Falls, and old Juan and the crew at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Caller, good morning. Morning, caller.
Good morning.
Wake up. Good morning.
Are you there?
I hope so, man. I was saying good morning, and I was chomping on the bit because I was waiting for every exciting word you're going to share with us.
Well, I got thinking about this deal in Oregon. Isn't there a law of some sort that says you cannot use taxpayer dollars for abortion?
When has that ever stopped the vile, evil left?
Well, they don't believe in laws.
Yeah.
And with these people back there in St. Louis, the authorities in St. Louis need to look back at the riots of L.A. in Watts and look and see what the Asian people did to protect their businesses. And if anybody doesn't know, you look back and you look through the history and the video footage, the news footage and stuff, you'll see them standing on their roofs with rifles and shotguns.
Mm-hmm.
And their businesses did not get burned.
You know, Doug, stop right there, because this is a point that needs to be addressed. I made a comment yesterday, and someone called on my cell phone and left a little message that I was a radical rightist. I'd never heard it pronounced or said like radical rightist. I guess that's like having arthritis. But anyhow, they said when I made the comment about sitting in your business and shoot to kill to protect your property and all that you've saved for your life to be in the business world, I meant it. And quite frankly, we cannot let these crazies take over the asylum.
No, you can't. You can't let them. And the left is, they do real good at making up words. But the words they make up have no meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
They need to take the original words and find the meaning, like the word free. And you're saying, and it isn't free. It's only free if you give it to someone else. If the government gives it as free, it's not free.
Well,
it
Doug,
costs every taxpayer.
yeah, they could say that we're going to have, this sounds a little gross, free toenail clipping for everybody. Oh, everybody take your boots and shoes off. We're going to have a free toenail clipping. It's free. It's going to cost somebody some money someplace. And here we are taking a devaluation of life. Human life. And we're telling to all the nut jobs out there that are belonging to the liberals and the Democratic Party, free abortions. And there is no value for that baby anymore. And on the other side of the coin, there is no value for our elderly anymore. I'm really concerned about how our society has been flushed and is being flushed down the toilet.
Exactly. Yeah. The way to take over a nation is take over the youth and take over the elderly.
But there's another caveat to this story that I really haven't touched on too much. They also added as a kind of a addendum to their paragraph on free abortions. Oh, and it's open to all illegal aliens too.
Yeah. That's just scary. And these illegal aliens like Nancy Pelosi, I think that was funny. She got a taste of what conservatives get when they go to speak at Berkeley.
She looked like a premature Halloween mask in a store.
Like deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was really kind of funny. But, the situation is such that I was really blown away last night, and Wheels, we're getting some feedback on the line. Watch that. I was blown away last night listening to a couple of these DACA dreamers that sat there, and they were absolutely convinced, Doug, that they have every right to the same rights that you and I have as citizens.
And that's where people need to read and understand the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is for American citizens. It's not for everybody in the world, every country in the world. It's not for people from other countries that are here on our soil. Yes, you have alienable rights given from God, but you do not have the Bill of Rights of the United States on your side.
And I watched this on, like I said, CNN had one, and then I skipped over to Tucker a few minutes later, and he had one on there. But it's the attitude of, hey, we're here. And yes, we're here illegally, but we're going to demand this. You're going to pay us that. We're going to get this. And I'm sitting there going, and I told Deanne, I said, there's no other country in the world that would take demands by somebody that is a non-citizen coming in and saying, you're going to do this whether you like it or not.
Exactly. Go to Mexico and make those demands and see what happens. Remember that Marine that went down there and made a wrong turn?
Yep.
He couldn't see the signs. The signs weren't good, and he made a wrong turn, wound up in Mexico. And how long did he sit in jail? Just for making a wrong turn.
It was over a year, wasn't it?
Close to it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, he's lucky he got out when he did and how he did, quite frankly. Doug, I always appreciate your call. I really am worried, Doug, and you're a sharp guy. You study stuff and you read the news and everything. But I'm really, really concerned about the Bernie Sanders and people that follow Bernie, because I'll tell you what, they are pushing so hard for single-payer Medicare for everybody. And the people I've talked to, they do not understand what this would do to be a death nail in the coffin for insurance and health care in America.
Well, to see single payer, look at the VA. Look how efficient it runs and how people's got all sorts of good things to say about it. I'm being facetious, of course, but That's only for, 30, 40 million people? Can you imagine the government running health care for 300 million people?
Next week, I am going to try to have the greatest and most, greatest spokesperson about health care in the United States, and that's Dr. Elena George out of Atlanta, Georgia. And she warned us a long time ago on my program. She's been on many, many times. You've heard her. And she warned us that if it comes down to single payer, it is going to be, quite frankly, a death knell for the elderly in this country, because the one-size-fits-all will not fit them.
Well, the single payer, the way they see a patient, is if you cannot be productive, you are not valuable.
Yep. There is a lot of truth to the worries about having a death committee, if you will, and I'm going to put it in hard-nosed terminology. And I made the equation earlier. Maybe you didn't agree with me, but I'll throw it out to you again. You take a teenager with athlete's foot that needs to be treated, they'll pay for that, but I'll tell you what, if all of a sudden 69, 70-year-old man goes in, 75, whatever, heart palpitations or whatever, they're going to look at the bottom line on single payer as to where their money is going to be best spent for the future.
Exactly. That's why the people that can produce, they will take care of. The ones that can't, goodbye. And you take all of these asylums where these mentally ill people are at,
yeah,
they're going to be no more.
I'm really concerned about this because one size doesn't fit all. And there's another caveat here on that kind of a program. It's nothing more than a socialist/communist dictate. And what it would do is absolutely ruin the medical profession to the point where doctors are going to make less money. They're going to be dictated to how much money they can make, and you're going to see fewer doctors, which is absolutely going to destroy health in this country.
And lower quality.
You've got it. Thank you, Doug.
Anyway, I know you're running late. You got to pay some bills, buddy.
Yeah, and
let's take care of our senior centers, okay?
Yeah, the oxymoron to that statement that I'm running late, I mean, that's facetious.
I like it.
All right, buddy, thanks. Hey, don't forget, you need to be comfortable in the wintertime, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort with Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they're at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, find out more, is 678-0459. Lennox and Ramsey serving you. Absolutely. I've got one other word here I've got to get in, and I can't find that good. Oh, I know what I did, because I don't need that good word. I've got it all memorized. And that's, of course, with our good friend Nathan Harris of Harris Plumbing NG. You know, I made the comment the other day on the air that there is not a plumber that I have ever worked with since I've been married now for, oh boy, I'm on the spot again. Let's see, it's going to be 46 years in 2 months. I'm saved, I remembered. That is as good and efficient and absolutely service-oriented like Nathan Harris of Harris Plumbing NG. Wow. They came over and did a whole bunch of work here, and they were absolutely dedicated to perfection to make the job just right. They will do the same for you. Harris Plumbing NG. Number to call, I urge you to call, 431-8633. This isn't a commercial just to have a commercial. This is a testimonial that they know what they're doing. They do. Harris Plumbing NG, 431-8633. Okay, pick up the phone, dial the number, say good morning, Zeb, and we'll talk. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Let's go do a weather forecast while I'm waiting for your call quickly. And the weather is brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Dr. Christine Pickup. You know, true hearing health care should include tools and techniques that enhance communication for you and your loved ones. There's nothing worse than going, huh? What'd you say? What's that? Well, I'll tell you what, if you're having trouble hearing, I urge you. I highly suggest that you give her a call for a hearing screening. Not going to hurt. It's fun. I had a good time with it. Over at Mount Harrison Audiology, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. The number to call for your appointment is 312-0957. Caller, I'll be with you in a minute. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, it appears that maybe fall has arrived. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We are looking at a 30% chance of rain showers for today, mostly before noon. Other than that, hopefully those rain showers will be moving out. Partly cloudy skies is what we're looking at. High right near 56. Going to be a little bit breezy as well, with a west wind 13 to 22 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 35. We're looking at a high of 55 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Winds are going to be dying down just a little bit. More rain showers are expected after midnight with a low of 36. Tomorrow, again, 30% chance of rain showers, mostly afternoon. Other than that, partly sunny skies with a high of 62. Then for Wednesday night, looks like a 50% chance of rain showers, mostly cloudy with the low right near 38. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and the number 312-0957. Make an appointment today and start hearing what you're missing. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb. If you don't mind, for Mount Harrison Audiology, I went in there myself. This is just a little pro bono there, but can't hear, and my wife's tired of me saying, huh? What? I'm tired of it. And I found out there's more than just being deaf and being deaf. There's other things going on there that one doesn't realize till they go get it checked out.
I totally agree, and thank you.
But anyway, on the other side of the coin, what I was going to call to talk to you about is I'm not a business owner per se myself, but I think as a person, and I know for a fact, if I seen someone else's business being looted, I'd be standing up for that person. Not for a personal gain, because it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. The citizenry back in St. Louis should absolutely be backing up 1,000% the police. Everything should be done in a legal manner, legal fashion, but they cannot, and I emphasize this, they cannot let these mobs prevail and destroy personal businesses.
Well, if you look at it, the way I look at it from a customer point of view, if my favorite grocery store, my favorite shoe store, whatever, is getting looted and robbed and damaged, it's going to cost me.
Yeah.
It's going to cost me as a consumer at the register.
That's
Not
right.
to mention my friend who owns the place is going out of business, because I do business with friends.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they're losing. So I feel that it's everybody's responsibility to make sure to help your neighbor out and don't take advantage of them.
I couldn't agree more, Riley. That was extremely well stated. Thank you very much.
You have a good day, sir.
All right, sir. God bless. Thank you. Hey, don't forget Denny's football breakfast. We give away on Thursdays at 9:15 compliments of Denny's restaurant at 611 Overland and Burley. A free Grand Slam breakfast if you can answer the football trivia contest at 9:15 on Thursdays. Don't miss that, okay? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Again, a quick reminder, Lunch Punch is going to be this Thursday at Denny's. Our thanks to Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin. And if there's anybody that's going to be at Lunch Punch that has some cowboy boots that do not fit, men's or ladies, and they're in good shape, I only want to have good ones. Tie them together and take a magic marker or something on the bottom, write the size, and we're collecting those boots to go to Texas. And it's Boots for Texas to boot Harvey out of Texas. And quite frankly, there's a big need for Western footwear down there. And the drop-off points will be at Lane in Rupert with Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Twist's family over at Paul, and Randy on Overland in Burley, the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers in the Minicash area. Stop over, drop those boots off, and if you have any tack that you don't need, and good quality, by the way, saddle pads, blankets, maybe some spurs, bits, whatever, good stuff. Good stuff. We'll pick that up at that location, too. They're going to have a big box in each location, and we'll pick it up and send it down to Texas in a couple of weeks. And tomorrow on the program, we're going to have one of the FFA teachers on the air that just, it's heartbreaking to think of all the devastation they've had due to the extremely high waters in the greater Houston area. All right, calls are welcome, 436-22. 441-866-927-4587. I had to chuckle a little bit because the lack of knowledge, call it what you will, wisdom, intelligence, whatever, the Democrats and the liberals in our society in general just spout stupidly without having the facts about climate change. You know, the Al Gores in the audience, and that includes like maybe even our local Times News, they have been, the world is burning up. Every year it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Last year the models were just off the charts. That's a lie. It's a lie. They have just concluded a great big study of some of the world's most prominent climate scientists, and they said, we were wrong. Most climate models over-predicted, I'm using their words, over-predicted the amount of warming during the early 21st century, from 98 to 2014. They go, there wasn't much of an increase, if any, in global average surface temperature readings. Yep. They said for years, global warming skeptics argued the models were showing more warming than actual observances, and it wasn't until 2016, a year ago, that prominent scientists admitted that the skeptics of global warming were right. Well, by golly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning again.
Yes.
You know, President Trump has told it like it is. I have never heard of him telling a single lie since he's been in office. Now, this Paris Accord where people are saying, well, he's going to take another look at it. He says he's going to do this. He hasn't said one word about it. He's waiting to see what he has offered, I'm sure, but
well,
he's not advocating it one way or the other.
Well, here's the deal with the Paris Climate Accord. It was absolutely aimed, and I'll say this, and there's nobody that can prove me wrong, it was aimed at putting the United States into a very precarious position of becoming a lower standard country, almost to the point of being in third world status. And it would have raised energy rates to the point where the consumers in this country would have gone broke. But now, with these reports coming out saying, oh, gee, oops, we were wrong, and the earth is not warming like they said initially. This needs to be really pushed and highlighted, but the liberal left media isn't touching this story with a 10-foot pole.
Maybe they should go to fact-checking. Do you suppose that would be a good idea?
Do you think?
Well, I think so.
Okay. Keith, I appreciate it. Take care. Thank you. Now, I have said for a long time that there may be climate change because climate is ever changing. And it has since God made the earth and the universe. But they have always come out, they being the left, and you've heard this before. Oh, 97% of the scientists agree. Wait a minute, 90% of their chosen ilk, maybe. I mean, these were chosen to stand up and say this, that, and the other. Well, now they have no clue what to do because the tests are proving that the earth is not anywhere close to warming like the naysayers said it would. I can just imagine what Al Gore is doing sitting at a table this morning thinking about his perpetration of a hoax and a lie. Why? I'll bet he's ready to jump out of a basement window. Don't forget your great big fall tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, where doing the right thing matters all the time, anytime, right there at all 7 locations. They've got a big fall tire sale going on now for all the passenger car tires and the pickup and SUV tires. I mean, well, let's look at this one. Wild Country Trail 4SX. For your pickups and SUVs, on sale. This is an all-terrain tread, very improved tire life. You're going to love this tire. So you stop in and see them today, all 7 locations, with the best of also brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. With the cooling temperatures, you go out and make sure your battery's in good shape, because you don't want to turn the key and it goes click, click. Check your battery. Get into any one of the 7 locations, Lane and Rupert, and Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best. Okay, next hour we've got Michelle Owens coming on, and then also at 9:30, Kyla Sawyer with the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce. We've got a full plate this morning. Wheels, take it away, buddy. I'll be back in 7. Well, that was a gruesome little newscast. Good morning. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a great big tire sale going on for the fall. You stop in today. And also including some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. I mean, man, we're so glad to have them on the program because they are always at our disposal. I'm telling you. Yesterday we talked about the dumpsters. Today I want to talk about the route service because we've been on that route service for years. And every Thursday, like clockwork, you can hear the big old truck coming up here, and they grab that garbage and off they go. I'm telling you, they are so efficient. Get on the route service. You'll be glad to stand there and wave goodbye to your garbage. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them today at 734-6969. Really good folks. Also, want to remind you, too, that with the colder weather coming, everybody deserves to feel good inside. Well, that's why Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can help you make yourself feel good inside with an indoor home comfort system from Lennox and provided through Ramsey Heating and Electric, where you may get up to a $1,600 rebate. Call them today, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox at 678-0459. Don't forget Lunch Bunch coming up Thursday at 11:30. I urge you to be there with us. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of door prizes from Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, and Denny's themselves. Going to be great. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. By the way, too, this man never stops smiling. He never stops serving his community. And I'm talking about Joel Heward, his family, and his staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. What a nice person. And absolutely committed to serving you and your family when there's the passing of a loved one, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please remember, they can come to the families in the rural areas, the rural towns, the rural churches, and help you with all the arrangements. Please write the number down and give them a call, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line. And I'm getting old because I can't remember if I've ever had this lady on my program before. So I'm going to ask her. I'm just going to show my old age and my lack of remembering. And we say good morning to Michelle Owens, attorney and managing partner with A.G. Owens Law Firm. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great, but I'm getting old, too, because I can't remember either. So.
Well, I really
for
It's a nice world, friend.
I respect the fact that you said you couldn't remember either, but you know what? Now that you're here, we'll both remember that we're on the same program today. Here we go. What's going on with Betsy DeVos and the revocation of what President Obama said back in 2011, creating guidelines, which I thought were totally inappropriate at that time, for schools investigating campus sexual assault and misconduct? Tell us a whole story, if you would.
Yeah, sure. The whole story in a nutshell, right?
Yes.
They were totally inappropriate back in 2011. At that point, President Obama, under his administration, there's an Office of Civil Rights in the Department of Education, and a Dear Colleague letter was issued, which is basically guidance. But every school took it as law and gospel truth because they're so afraid of losing their federal funding. Some of the things that happened is that they made it a priority to investigate on college campuses sexual assault and rape under Title IX, which, people my age think of Title IX as dealing with sports and women, an equal shot of scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow that's progressed to dealing with sexual assault and rape. And as an aside, I find it highly offensive that we are now considering rape discrimination. It's a felony, and it's a crime. It's not discrimination. So that is an aside. But they did a couple of things with those guidelines. One of the things is that they lowered the standard of proof, the burden of proof that you have to show to prove that there was a sexual assault. And they lowered it to this preponderance of the evidence standard that is like, if you believe that the girl is telling the truth 50.01%, then you find the guy guilty.
Right.
And that's so far removed from the standard in the criminal justice system. So that's a problem right there. They did a few other things, like remove due process completely for both sides, for the victim and for the accused student. In my practice, I see more of the accused students because they're falsely accused, and they get, ramrodded through this kangaroo court system where, a 26-year-old dorm advisor is the one determining if there's been a rape. And it's really crazy, ludicrous. If anybody really sees what's going on, or if they have to go through this with a family member or a loved one or a friend, they would be on the fight to get it changed because it ruins lives, and it's a really bad idea to let the colleges handle felonies. And I just can't even understand why we're all still letting it happen. Betsy DeVos is going to make some changes with that very soon, I hear, within the next couple of weeks. We don't know what she's going to do, but I am certain that one thing she will do is change that standard back to what it was before, which is the clear and convincing standard, the 70%, belief. You have to at least think there's a 70% chance that what the girl is saying happened.
I'm sitting here.
That's kind of it in a nutshell, and there's a lot of particulars I'm happy to talk about more.
Well, I've seen many cases of this happening on college campuses. And, of course, I'm going to revert back, Michelle, to the Duke University lacrosse team and how the young men on that team were absolutely laid out on the railroad tracks for the train to run over them. Everybody hated these boys. Everybody thought they were absolutely guilty. They were not. And their lives were destroyed.
Yeah, it ruined their lives. I mean, it really changed everything for them, and you can't unring that bell once it's done.
How prominent is this problem in America today? Because I have talked to family members where their sons, are going to major universities and colleges, and they're scared to even go out on a date with a girl because they don't know too much about the girl, and they're scared that allegations might further them into problems.
Well, they should be scared, and, I've thought long and hard about what I could tell people to help them prevent themselves from getting in that situation.
Right.
I have kids of my own, and I can't think of a lot of good things to tell them because, most of the clients that I get, they are not one-night stands two of my cases, there was no sexual activity. It was just a lie, flat out lie, by the girl. And, and I'm kind of, being, it's usually the girl that is the accuser and the boy that's accused. But it does go other ways. So that's something to keep in mind. But just for generality, they should be afraid. Most of these accusations are made between, at least the ones I've had, between 2 to 18 months after the alleged event occurred. So you have a hard time understanding why it would take somebody almost 2 years to make an accusation of rape. And then you have a really hard time with any evidence at all, especially because if you're the accused student, you do not get to know exactly what you're accused of. There's a box that's checked on a form that says you violated the sexual assault policies. That could be stalking, it could be sexual assault, it could be rape. You don't know. And they don't tell you the time or the date that it occurred. So if you dated somebody for 2 years, you have no idea what they're talking about. Assuming nothing really happened. You don't know what event that they're alleging. And sometimes the accused student doesn't even get to know who the accuser is. So that's a really hard thing to defend yourself against when you don't really know what you're trying to defend yourself from.
Let me ask you this.
Very horrible situation for a student to be in.
Let me ask you this part of the question then. Why do you think back in 2011 that Obama's administration wanted to create this kind of a one-sided guideline in the first place? What was the motivating factor that Obama wanted to do this to where the males in our society were absolutely jeopardized with no chance of recusing themselves or protecting themselves?
I think it was probably a reaction from a lot of feminist groups that maybe had a good reason for being upset, because there have been a lot of rapes on college campuses. That's not anything new. It goes back when I was in college. It has happened and it still happens. And probably very little was being done about it. And so, there needed to be some changes. But unfortunately, the system that was put in place it's made the situation worse. The situation, the answer is as broken as the problem is. So it did not make things better. It made them worse. It didn't even make them better for the victims, because what's been happening is the victim has to present evidence on her own. She doesn't get to have an attorney either, so she's presenting evidence by herself. And if she really was raped, I can't imagine anything worse. And then what happens is that if the male student gets expelled from school, a lot of times they're filing a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. And when you file a lawsuit against the school, the female victim comes in as the primary witness. So you're having to relive the whole thing over and over. And, I don't feel bad for them if it was a false accusation, but if there's a real accusation and that happens, that's horrible. And if they had gone through the criminal justice system and contacted the police instead, this would not be happening, because there would be no civil suit. The other thing is, if I'm raped, I want the guy behind bars. I don't want him kicked out of school. I mean, who cares? That's a secondary issue. I want him in jail, and to prevent him from doing it to someone else. So it's a really, the whole thing is really fairly ridiculous. It sounds like something, out of a bad movie.
Michelle, has this item, this issue, has it turned into a partisan politics issue, Democrat versus Republican, or too much government meddling into various education issues? What are the negatives on this?
Well, I think there is overreach, absolutely, by the Office of Civil Rights within the Department of Education. But the interesting thing to me is that since Betsy DeVos has come out with these, proposed changes, there have been a lot of people and groups that have actually done some research and looked into this. And a lot of us are affected by college students. I mean, we know somebody with kids in college, or we have kids in college, or maybe we were not far removed from college. So when you look at the reactions to groups and the people, they're actually not that negative. there are a few really stringent female groups that have been really against any changes. And what I would say to all of them is that they don't understand the situation, or they absolutely don't want justice, because it is not fair to be able to just say that you were raped and that's the end of it, because that sets a lot of people up for being a victim of somebody who is just crying wolf, and not telling the truth about it. Mm-hmm. But overall, I would say that this is not as partisan as you might think it would be, and that's how bad it is. But you have both sides kind of agreeing that, yeah, we need to make some changes because this is really over the top.
Michelle, has Title IX in itself basically handcuffed a lot of colleges and universities in this country and financially really been a burden?
No, well, it may have been a burden as far as implementing programs, and I don't know the facts on, like, statistics and facts on that. I do know that every college has been required to put in a Title IX coordinator and have an employee who handles that. And most high schools, and actually it's K through 12, are they fall under this law too, but they don't, or this rule, but they don't really know it. It appears, because I don't think they have Title IX coordinators. But it has been an expense for colleges in that sense. But no college has lost their federal funding. And so, as far as them being handcuffed, I think they're more afraid and a little wimpy, in my opinion, because none of them have been willing to stand up for what's right. And there are a lot of college administrators who know this is not good and know it's not fair and right, and they don't agree with it. But very few are willing to stand up and say something about it. So, handcuffs, no. Made them scared and run and hide, yes.
And you're speaking on behalf this morning, as you have for quite some time, about a group called SAVE, Stop Abusive and Violent Environments. Really, in a nutshell, how bad are the college environments today as compared to when they were back 30, 40 years ago?
I honestly don't think that they're much different. The thing that is different is there's probably more promiscuity. So that opens the door more for regret or for bad choices because of alcohol or drugs being involved. But I don't think the overall problem is any worse than it was. But part of the issue is that it's always been a problem, and it hasn't been dealt with appropriately. And so I think, in part, the 2011 Dear Colleague letter was an effort to make some response. It was just not the right direction. What was done was not the best solution. But there's always been a problem. I don't think it's worse. I think we need to acknowledge that there is one, but also that, accusing the male and nailing him to the cross is not the way to fix the problem. We need to look at it rationally and apply due process.
The whole thing of even having to talk about this morning boils down to a society, in my opinion, Michelle, that has lost a lot of its morality, a lot of its values, and a lot of a discernment of what really is right and wrong. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, and I think that's probably the overall problem. We don't have so much of a rape crisis as we have a morality crisis on college campuses. And, there are some biblical truths that a lot of people follow, and if those were followed on college campuses, we would have a lot less problems of this nature. But, yeah, most of my clients, what, I kind of explain to people is, they aren't guilty of rape or sexual assault. They may be guilty of bad manners or bad moral choices. But that's different than a legal issue, and we need to be able to separate those two when we get into, accusing somebody of a crime.
I absolutely enjoyed having you on the program this morning. Even though neither one of us could remember having been on the program before, I want to issue a welcome for you to come back. Michelle Owens, attorney and managing partner with A.G. Owens Law Firm. Thank you so much for being here, and I will call in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Nice lady, and a very interesting topic. A lot of people don't want to touch that kind of a topic, but I felt it was necessary because a lot of the guys on college campuses are accused of rape and molesting and other charges. And we go back to what happened at Duke University with the lacrosse team, and it ruined their lives. And at the very end of everything, the woman had lied. And the men on that Duke University lacrosse team, their lives, their parents, their family, and the money that was spent to prove them innocent didn't matter about the money as much as their lives were ruined. Let's go ahead, and I want to tell you a little bit about, oh my goodness sakes, Gary Shoresman and the Old Settlers Dinner, the 101st. And when Gary puts on an event, it is first class. Well, it's going to take place this Saturday, September 23rd, at the Rupert Elks Lodge. And you know where that is. And they're going to have a big, that means really huge, turkey dinner and all the trimmings. And this year's theme, homesteaders. And boy, when Gary puts on an event, it is really historically very entertaining and very informative. Don't forget to call for reservations, Gary Shoresman, at 312-1556. 312-1556. The 101st Old Settlers Dinner, this coming Saturday at 11 o'clock. Check-in, eat at noon at the Rupert Elks Lodge. Don't you miss it. I know something else you better not miss either. And that's great employment opportunities that are ready for you to join the Scott Jackson Trucking family. You know, a very professional business with a job that pays competitive wages, benefit programs, and they don't lay off in the so-called slow seasons. You'll enjoy the professionalism and the family-type atmosphere. I urge you to call the number 324-3004. 324-3004, Scott Jackson Trucking. And believe me, you'll be a part of a very professional team. Scott Jackson Trucking. You call today. Okay, in just a few minutes, we're going to have Kyla from the Chamber of Commerce on the air. And no, it's not Thursday, but I wanted to have her come on. We're going to talk about jobs and how hard it is for a lot of businesses to find people for the jobs today. So we're going to have a in-depth kind of a report, if you will, from Kyla Sawyer from the Chamber of Commerce. Stand by for that. Yesterday, I went over to Let's Ride. Yep, I needed some service work done on my machines, and they are good. I mean, busy. That door of theirs over there was just open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. Man, they better oil that puppy because a lot of people are going in and checking out all the brand new snowmobiles. And they've got a brand new line of dirt bikes, too. And you know, of course, all the four-wheelers and all the side-by-sides to get up in the hills and just really enjoy the beauty of Idaho outdoors. All of this and more, the accessories, the service department, it's all there at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. This is where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. Good people. And while I have just a moment talking about good people, that also means that I get a chance to jump over in the same neck of the woods over there to Highway 24 in Rupert and talk about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, the professionals when it comes to life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. You know, they really care. They really do care. They're dedicated and responsive to your needs. So all you need to do, you got to have a little responsibility here. You got to pick up the phone and you've got to call and make an appointment. Come on. You'll be so glad you did. 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Absolutely good. Good folks. And like I said, we're going to have a meeting in just a moment with Kyla from the Chamber of Commerce, but I want to remind you again that Lunch Bunch will be this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget, gift certificates galore. Thank you to Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes, and, of course, Doug Martin, Walmart. I mean, we're really appreciative of what they do to help us at our Lunch Bunches. So, and Denny's also. I mean, we've got a whole bunch of them. You can't walk out a loser when you go to Lunch Bunch. I'll guarantee you that. 11:30 this Thursday at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley. And really quick, I want to remind you, too, about some friends of ours that they urge you to come by and visit. Who is it? Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. They make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place for your loved one that might need that little extra help. You know, more one-on-one care. So I urge you to get a hold of them today. Stop by for a visit. Check the facilities out. They welcome you. And again, it's located at 924 Christian Way in Rupert, the only locally owned and operated and assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Call them at 436-3200. Well, there she is, sitting there at her desk, looking outside at Mount Harrison and watching the ducks swim in the river. Hello, Kyla Sawyer with the Chamber of Commerce. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb Bell. I haven't seen the ducks yet. It's a little windy out here today, but it is a beautiful morning, and it's nice to chat with you. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, and I really want to say up front how much I appreciate you coming on the program this morning, because we were conversing a couple of weeks ago on the Chamber of Commerce segment on Thursdays about jobs and employment and how things have kind of flip-flopped a little bit to the point where now there are more jobs than what seems to be the amount of people. Why don't you bring us up to speed as to where we're at?
Well, I think that, certainly, first of all, let's celebrate that this area has had, at least in Twin Falls, in Jerome, in the Mini-Cassia area, southern Idaho is experiencing tremendous growth, and a lot of that has to do with our agriculture and our location. Certainly we have some premier companies here that are producing outstanding products in agriculture, and we're feeding the world. And then, two, is our location. So here in southern Idaho, you can easily, by rail car and also by semi, ship your goods within 10 to 12 hours to Salt Lake, to Canada, to Portland, to Seattle, etc. And that's what a lot of companies are looking for. And so it's interesting. The Department of Labor has come out with, I'll have to send it to you, Zeb. It's really fun. It's just a map of how all the companies are really intertwined with their business. So, for example, you have Chobani, and then you have Fabri-Kal that makes the yogurt cups for Chobani. Fabri-Kal is located here in Burley. Mm-hmm. You have Packaging Corporation of America, PCA, that makes the boxes that hold the cups that go to Chobani. Obviously you have the dairies that are producing. So there's a lot of interwovenness here with companies now saying, well, I'm going to come there too because we help Fabri-Kal, or we help PCA, or we help ship product for McCain's, or whatever the case may be. So that is going to continue as long as our economy stays strong. Now, the result of that is, yes, a lot of companies are announcing expansions, and so you have a lot of jobs that are coming here to the area that are already existing here, and I'd have to look this morning. I'm trying to get on the screen while I'm talking to you, but our unemployment level is hovering somewhere around 2%. And a lot of people would say, yeah, that's awesome. It means so many people are employed here. But truthfully, that can go the other way on you. And so when you start to drop below 4% in unemployment, then you've got more jobs that you need qualified people, but you might not necessarily have people with the right skill sets to come into those jobs. And so then what you're seeing now is it's very competitive out there with people saying, hey, I can make $2 more over here, so I'm going to switch jobs. And it's really up to employers then to create an ideal culture to keep the type of employees that they want. And that means maybe they have better benefits. Maybe they have more flexible time off. Whatever that culture is, that you can keep quality employees.
You know, Kyla, that was extreme. No, that was extremely well stated. But I'm going to go and I'm going to kind of play the devil's advocate side of this story a little bit. And you know, I've driven down almost every street in Twin Falls, Burley, Rupert, Pocatello, Boise, all over the state, and I'm seeing help wanted, help wanted, help wanted. You know, but there has to be a problem also that needs to be rectified somehow, and I don't know how to address this problem. How do we restore and create a better work ethic for people to want to try to go back to work and get to work?
I think the biggest question that we're facing is there will always be workforce recruitment, meaning we're going to have people want to move to our area, to come outside the area to work. That's one. Two, and we have several groups, the Chambers of Commerce, SADU, lots of organizations that are working very diligently on that with different employers and different businesses in the area. But the second one, you hit the nail on the head, and that is, listen, these jobs, some of them are at executive level, but a lot of them are not. And they're going to start you on the bottom rung. And it just seems that, yes, there's got to be a way to cultivate the idea that it's okay to start at the bottom rung and work your way up. Everybody does it. And I think what you're referring to is there's different generations that may not necessarily have that same viewpoint. They're looking at, I want to be employed at a place where I feel good about myself and I'm helping the environment or I'm helping the world be a better place. And the reality is that's all fine and good, but you still got to earn a paycheck and you still need to, you know, work your way up. So, you know, we talked not long ago that, you know, my first job was in radio and I worked 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And at the time that is an awful shift. That really is the worst shift in radio, but I'm thankful now for it because it allowed me to make a lot of mistakes without any damage to my employer. But I also, you know, I learned a lot, and I learned I need to really work hard so that they would notice me and then move me up to a better shift. And so these jobs are good-paying jobs. A lot of them are offering great benefits. Some of them, you know, they work 4/10s, and then, you know, you get 3 days off every week. So, right. I mean, there's lots of opportunity here, but it's how do we cultivate within even our own kids here that are coming up through the high schools a really great attitude and have our parents and our grandparents realize the jobs that are being offered by these companies are not just washing potatoes. You know, there's a whole lot of technology and other problem-solving skills that these companies are looking for.
Let me ask you this, Kyla. I was raised, of course, I'm a lot older than you are, but I was raised in a German family that, boy, you worked. I mean, I went to work on not only my dad's farm, but also I worked for my grandfather that owned a meat market and a food business in my hometown. And I was put in a lot of hours a week. It didn't hurt me. As a matter of fact, it instilled a work ethic in me, and I'm so glad for that. But how do we reinstill that? I think it's got to start in the education systems. It's got to start at the early years in elementary school. We're waiting, I think, far too long to tell people you can do anything, you can succeed at anything you want to in America if you try.
Well, I think one of the issues that's been raised, and you see it on social media and in the news media, is we've told everybody for years and years, you can do anything, you can be anything, you can be special. But the second half of that that people don't seem to be hearing is you actually got to work for it, and that means work, and that means it's going to stink at some times when you're at a job. Your first job is not always meant to be your everlasting job. It's meant to be a chance to learn, to work, to cultivate that attitude of, can I be a problem solver? Can I see something that needs to be done? The biggest complaint we hear about a lot of entry-level workers or people that are new to the workforce is they're just so used to being told what to do that they don't have problem-solving skills to kind of look ahead in terms of, well, gosh, if I did this a little bit extra, or if I, help this, cut something off at this level, then it doesn't get to a worse level at this. And I think that's very sad. So are we as parents being too helicopterish, and so we're just telling our kids everything they need to do, and we're not allowing them to think for themselves? Does social media play a role in this, and the phones and technology? I know you're going to agree on that one, but, the idea that we have to tell everybody, you come to work, you put your phone on silent, you throw it in your locker, you leave it in your car because you're there to work. And, I think back to the days of our grandparents who, their husbands went off to work for the whole day, and you didn't talk to them the whole day. They came home at night, and that was not unusual. And now we're at a point where it's like, I haven't heard from my husband in a half an hour. I hope everything's okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to answer that one, but I can say that I support that both our school districts here in the Mini-Cassia area are really working hard to solve some of these problems in terms of working with companies to create some continuing technical education or some apprenticeship programs. The biggest factor is the kids all need to be really on the same schedule so that we're creating not two sets of programs everywhere, but just one unified, program here and one unified program there, and then the kids can pick and choose what they can get to in an allotted amount of time.
I absolutely agree with that, but I want to, Wheels, we're getting a little feedback on the line. Check that, please. But kind of I want to go back a little bit. I don't mean to beleaguer this point, but I honestly believe that in the grade schools and through high school, we have got to, as parents and school leaders, community leaders, we've got to instill again a success attitude. I'm not picking on the entire millennial generation when I say this. Please understand, there's a lot of great millennials right here in this area that have done very well with a career choice, and they are now business leaders. But we also see a large percentage that are standing on the street corner with a tin cup expecting government to provide for them. We've got to start at the basics, Kyla, and teach a work ethic. You can succeed if you try.
Yes, and I think you got to also teach that, what is a work ethic? That sounds really basic, but, I know in my own experience when we've interviewed for positions and I've said, well, it's a 40-hour work week. Some weeks we might work more. We might work up to 60 hours. But, we do have compensation for that. And they'll look at me and go, well, right now I only work about 25 hours. That seems like a lot. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. What is an actual work week? And what does it mean to go the extra mile? What does it mean to, the minute that you enter that workplace, you leave all the drama of your personal life behind because now you're there to work? I think a lot of people struggle with that, and I don't know how you teach that at school other than to say, hey, we're here to learn now, so we're going to drop the drama if we can, and then you can pick it back up when you leave at the end of the day. But these are the things I think that because we have phones in our pockets and, literally I can understand why some schools have said, hey, put all the phones in a box and you pick it up at the end of the day because, as parents, we're texting our kids, oh, we got to do this and da-da-da-da-da. And think about that message we're sending. It's that I can interrupt you at any time of the day, and that's more important than what you're doing at that moment. And certainly there's emergency situations, but that's a little bit different than, figuring out the soccer schedule or, whatever it may be. So.
Absolutely. Kyla, one thing that I have said on this program for years, and now it's proving to come into fruition, and people that are in a celebrity spotlight like Mike Rowe from the TV show Dirty Jobs has solidified my feelings on this situation. We have pushed college to all students. And I said for a long time, that's not right. There's a lot of kids that don't want to go to college, and they think, well, because society's pushing them to go to a college or university, if they don't, they're unsuccessful. That's not true. We have got some tremendous trade schools, and we need people in the trades more so now than ever, plumbers, electricians, whatever. And I'm glad to see that maybe this is turning around a little bit.
I agree with you. I think I was of that generation. It was like if you don't go to college, then you're an absolute loser in life instantly, and I think that's very wrong. There's lots of great jobs, and kudos to Mike Rowe for really shedding a spotlight on this and having people rethink what makes a person successful. There are lots and lots of ways to be successful, and a lot of people, I think, struggled with going to college. The idea that I was always taught was, well, once you have your education, and then no one can take that away from you. But at the same time, it's also true in the trades. Once you have that education or that knowledge and skill set and abilities, then no one can take that away from you. And so I really struggle with parents who are like, well, there's no way my kid's working, in a manufacturing plant situation. And I just shudder at that, because there's a lot of jobs out there that are going to earn a lot more, even down the line, by just getting these advanced skill sets than necessarily going to college. And that's something that I think as parents and as grandparents, again, you need to take a second look and have your kids really investigate what's going to be the best path for them, because college is very expensive. So it may not be the best path for everybody, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a failure at your life, and it doesn't mean that you won't find a good job if you work hard.
Kyla, one thing, too, is I would imagine, and I'm suppositioning this because I haven't talked to you beforehand on this subject, but do employers today, whether it's here in the Burley-Rupert area, Twin Falls, Boise, it doesn't make any difference, do employers understand the dilemma that they have to come up with some kind of a carrot or some kind of a hook that would make and draw people into their business?
Oh, yes. We hear that all the time. It's pretty competitive out there right now in terms of, people offering employers different, I don't want to say packages, but incentives or whatever the case may be, to come and work for them. So and then there's others that are going to say, hey, the job starts at this, and, but in 3 months or 6 months or whatever the case may be, you have the possibility of earning more. They're also looking, though, for, is this someone who's going to go the extra mile? Will they take that extra shift because it's available out there? Will they stay late without being asked to finish a job? They're looking for those types of skill sets. And sometimes it's far and few between, and that's really sad. It's really just sad, Zeb. And I'm hopeful that with this emphasis on taking a look at, there's all kinds of careers out there, and they don't necessarily require going to college, but it does require getting some sort of advanced education. And I think that's a better way to put it than saying college. You need to have some sort of advanced education, whether that's in, whether it's welding, or you're interested in diesel mechanic, or you're interested in, plumbing or electrician, things like that. You're going to need some advanced education once you get out of high school.
Well, and look at the Burley-Rupert area right now, or for that matter, the state of Idaho. I mean, the construction of homes is up, and there's absolutely a desperate need for more employees, and we see people coming in. We're in a growing area, but we need quality people that, quite frankly, want to work.
Yes, and I think we do have, twofold. We will get those people to come in, but then the second thing is we have a great crop of folks coming in right now. Take a look at your own children. I mean, I know a lot of us would like to see our kids, either go get that advanced education, if it's in a trade or if it is going to college or whatever the case may be, but we want them to be close to us. And so this is a great place to live and to work. So why not cultivate the generations that we have right here? That would be tremendous, I think. And we've started to see a lot of folks that are saying, yeah, I might leave for 1 or 2 years, I go get some education, or I go do whatever it may be, but then I want to come back and live here. So it would be great if we could continue to advance these apprenticeship programs and advance the types of education available here in the Mini-Cassia area that are tied to the jobs that are here.
There are so many opportunities here in southern Idaho, and I, for years, heard people calling in on this program, and they were saying, well, I don't want my kids to stay here because there's no opportunities. What a false statement, because right now I think we're in the hotbed. I'll use that phrase. We're in the hotbed of opportunity that's going to grow and enhance for years to come. Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I think the biggest thing, though, that we need to be telling our kids is something that Mike Rowe, and I've heard you say on your program as well, and that is opportunity lies in what you make of it. And
yes.
So, if you get that job that they're offering $15 an hour or $13 an hour or whatever it may be, realize that's a foot in the door and take it. And then run with it and do the very best job that you can. Come early, stay late. Do what your boss asked. Show an eagerness to learn. And that is the thing that I think we need to be pushing with our kids, and that is that every time you step into work, try to do the very best that you can. Show that initiative. And how do you teach initiative? I mean, that's a tough one. So a lot of that starts at home, as you've said, but the opportunities are there in the starter job or in a mid-level job or in an executive job. There is always room for you to improve, but you've got to be the one that wants it. You got to be the one to go out and earn it. Well,
and I'll just kind of follow up on that a little bit. We, as a society, have created everybody's a winner. Everybody gets a trophy and a ribbon, and that's wrong. We need to instill an effort that is going to be productive, and if you are productive, you can succeed. Not everybody's going to go underneath the Danish system of 4-H of giving everybody either a red, white, or blue ribbon. That's not what life is all about.
No, and I think that, I got a chance last year to speak to some Deco High School kids, and it was just a thrill. But one of the things I said is, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. If you've given it your all and you failed, you're going to have a bigger learning lesson than, hey, I got the blue ribbon the first time out, or hey, I got that awesome job right out of high school or out of college. That's not real life. And then I get worried that, is it too easy? So I think that don't be afraid to fail. Just do the very, very best that you can. And I've learned a lot more from my failures than I ever have from the majority of my successes, So I think that sometimes we're just scared to fail, and you can't be.
One quick thing, and I'm almost running out of time here, but I think a lot of what happens with our youth today goes through the guidance departments and guidance counselors at schools. I can look back into the 60s, and the guidance counselors were pushing college. But right now, there's so many opportunities that if they really work on a one-on-one basis with these students, there is just a plethora of things they can get into after graduating from high school.
There is, and I think that as, parents or guardians or grandparents or come what be, you really need to, have your kids investigate it for themselves. Make them be vested in it. Check out the different kinds of jobs. Talk to some good folks at the Department of Labor. Talk to some other folks. Have them experience work at an early age, in terms of whatever jobs are out there at their age level, just to see what they may or may not be interested in or have a talent for. I don't know, it's going to be an interesting world out there, Zeb, for for so many reasons. But just, I think the biggest thing is we have great jobs here. We have some great opportunities. It's what we make of it that's really going to take us farther in the end.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate your taking the time on an extra day to come on my program. Kyla from the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, excellent job, my dear, and please come back in the future.
Oh, I will. Thanks, Zeb, for the invitation. I appreciate it.
God bless. Thank you so much. Kyla Sawyer with the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce. She's the director, and if you want to talk to her more, I'm sure she wouldn't mind having a call at her office, 679-4793. Really good folks over there. Holy cow, we've got to get a weather forecast on here. Zeb, my goodness. It's brought to everybody by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, CPAs, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. Absolutely. They can help anybody and everybody. I'm telling you, people starting a business or business owners wanting to hire more employees. There we go. We were just talking about that. Or perhaps retirement planning, tax return preparation, all of this and more with the professionals, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with locations in Burley and Rupert. And right now, on a day that's turned cloudy and wet all of a sudden outside, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, it appears that maybe fall has arrived. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We are looking at a 30% chance of rain showers for today, mostly before noon. Other than that, hopefully those rain showers will be moving out. Partly cloudy skies is what we're looking at. High right near 56. Going to be a little bit breezy as well, with a west wind 13 to 22 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 35. We're looking at a high of 55 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Winds are going to be dying down just a little bit. More rain showers are expected after midnight with a low of 36. Tomorrow, again, 30% chance of rain showers, mostly afternoon. Other than that, partly sunny skies with a high of 62. Then for Wednesday night, looks like a 50% chance of rain showers, mostly cloudy with a low right near 38. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you this hour by our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. CPAs that can really help you, your family, and your business. Get a hold of them today. Offices in Burley and Rupert. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Thank you very much. Oh, my, we got to remind you, boots for Texas. By golly, I'm helping get some boots and some tack for our friends down in Texas that have lost literally almost everything. A lot of the horse operations, FFA, etc., they're looking for boots, cowboy boots. And if you've got an old pair of boots in your closet, now, I don't mean old and beat up and cracked and everything. I mean a pair of boots maybe that doesn't fit you anymore. Good quality boots, tie them together and bring them to our drop-off points at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Elaine and Rupert, the Twist family over in Paul, Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley, Minnecasia, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Help me put the boots together for Texas. Along with the tack, we're trying to get everything put together. We've got a big trailer going down in a couple of weeks to the greater Houston area. And tomorrow, we're going to be talking to one of those FFA teachers. I've got right here at my place, as a matter of fact, I think Deanna and I put together about 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 pairs of boots and a great big box of tack, saddle pads, bits and bridles, etc. They've lost everything down there. So let's get it all put together and boot Hurricane Harvey out of Texas. Cowboy boots primarily. Help, if you would please, and take the boots to the drop-off points. Coming in the door, Dr. History, and that means that's going to come up next on Zeb at the Ranch at 10:06. We urge you to stay tuned. And then at 10:30, one of my favorite guests, Dr. Herb London, on our national security. Where are we anyway? We'll have all of that coming up. Wheels, take it away. I'll be back in about 7. And a good morning and welcome back. My goodness sakes, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor. My voice is kind of weak this morning. I'm coming down with another cold, I think. I never had 2 colds in a row in my life. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. We also on Thursdays want to say a big thank you to 2 businesses that sponsor Cassia County School Days. Absolutely 2 great businesses, one being A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley, and they've got all the new fall dresses there, all the baby furniture and the baby clothing. Oh my goodness, games, puzzles, and toys, all at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley. The number to call and check out, they can save you money on outpatient surgeries, 677-8888. 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you School Days in Cassia County on Thursday at 10:10. Right now, I also want to acknowledge the fact that if you have a little kitty cat or a little puppy or a big bunch of cattle or horses, I'm telling you, there is some folks that are ready to help you. There are some folks that are ready to help you, and that's Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. These folks are so good at what they do and so caring. Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, all, they do love them all and take care of them. Dr. Bill and the whole crew, I'm telling you, all you have to do is give them a call, 678-1177. 678-1177, Ark Animal Hospital. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. By the way, your nose will not be cold this winter if you check out a Lennox home comfort system with Ramsey Heating and Electric. And you could possibly get up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox system. All you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is. He's had his assistants pave the way to come in with the red carpet into our studio. We all bow to the majesty of Dr. History.
As it should be.
Yeah, right.
Well, what can I say? Thank you. How you doing today?
Well, you have done such a tremendous job the last couple of weeks telling us about the railroads and everything. You have another story on that?
You know what? I don't. I kind of found another one that I wanted to give today, and so we're going to depart from the railroad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're off the track.
We're off the track. This one is called The Ambush on the Coquille River. Coquille. Have you heard of the Coquille River?
Where's it?
It's in southwestern Oregon, not too far from the California border.
How do you spell that?
Coquille. So I think it's Coquille.
I don't know.
So it's not too far from the Rogue River. You've heard of the Rogue River?
Yes, I have. That runs right smack dab through La Grande and right in that area. And the world's worst freeways that are never fixed and never repaired, and they're always working on them, are right there.
Yes. So this one is going to be called, the story is called Ambush on the Coquille.
Okay.
And it starts out by saying there were three great lifesavers on the frontier: courage, desperation, and friendship.
Really?
And you're going to, as I go through the story, but I want to give a little background to this area. Okay, now, as I mentioned, this is southwestern Oregon, not too far from Bandon and Medford and that area.
Oh, okay. So, wouldn't that be eastern?
No, it's western. Medford.
Oh, you're way over there.
Yeah, on the western side.
Okay, yeah, I was talking about La Grande a minute ago with the Rogue. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, they claim that people have lived along the Rogue River and its tributaries for about 8,500 years. European explorers first made contact with the Indians toward the end of the 18th century, and of course that's when they started trapping and other activities in the area. And so clashes sometimes became deadly between the Indians and the trappers, and later between the Indians and the miners and the settlers, which happened all through the West. And these struggles actually culminated with what they called the Rogue River Wars.
I've heard of that.
Of 1855-56. Yeah. And it ended with the removal of most of the Indians to reservations outside the basin.
Really?
Which was another case where they took their native land and moved them to another place. But
let me ask you this quickly. Were the Indian wars and the Indian battles, that we have had many of them on our program, were they, quote-unquote, as serious as history portrays them to be?
The thing you have to realize is that there was a back and forth, okay? The Indians did things, the whites did things. The Indians retaliated, the whites retaliated. I mean, it was a back and forth thing, and obviously the Indians came out on the short end.
Yeah, but has history or stories been kind of inflated to the point where it might not have been as bad as we hear?
Let me put it this way, Zeb. There's been some stories I've told where I haven't gone into great detail regarding what happened.
I see.
And so I guess in a way, maybe sugar-coated some of the things that I have told on the radio, just because sometimes they're a little gruesome.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but the interaction of the Rogue River Indians and the first American settlers traveling through the area, it was pretty peaceful. And we know that in many cases the Indians helped the pioneers.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of times they helped them. They helped keep them from starvation and from freezing. But the situation changed drastically with the opening of the Oregon Trail, and of course the gold rushes into northern California and later into eastern Oregon, and larger groups of settlers and miners entered the area, and they consumed without restrictions the natural resources upon which the Indians relied on for survival, like, the game and the fish and chopping down entire forests of oak trees. And the first recorded hostilities were caused by an American by the name of Ewing Young. He was traveling to Oregon in 1834, and his party murdered several Indians and buried their bodies on the island where the party was camped. Now, these bodies were later discovered by the local tribe. Well, and as I mentioned, they retaliated the next year.
What was the reason for creating the murders?
Who knows? I think the misconception that a lot of those guys had was that all Indians were the same.
So this guy just basically and his followers, they just opened fire.
And yeah, for whatever reason, we don't know.
Wow.
So anyway, the Indians retaliated the next year. They attacked an American fur trapping party that passed through, and 4 of the 8 Americans were killed. There was a guy named Bailey and a guy named Gay that were 2 survivors. And in 1837, Bailey, Gay, and others were herding cattle north to the Willamette Valley when Gay shot and killed a native boy.
Uh-oh.
And he was shot in revenge for earlier attacks against the whites. Well,
and there was no provocation. There was nothing to do there. I see.
Well, so then the Indians raided the cattle drive and killed and drove off a few cattle. Like I say, it was a
back and forth. But really, the antagonism was unnecessary.
It was. It was just, it's a sad part.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get into this ambush that took place on the Coco River. So, as I mentioned, that Rogue River War was in 1855-56.
Right.
But we're going to go back a few years to 1851. Now, the mining community around a place called Jacksonville in southern Oregon was virtually isolated from the rest of the territory. And consequently, a group of 23 men under the direction of a guy named Tavalt was organized as an exploring expedition to discover a better route from Port Orford on the coast to the gold mine so they could move things in and out easier. Well, there was 2 guys, a guy named Williams and a guy named Hedden were members of this group of 23. So they were heading out. Leaving Port Orford in the middle of August, the men proceeded south to the Rogue River and deciding there to continue upstream along the north bank of the Rogue. Now, all these guys were afoot. They were all walking, using what few horses they had as pack animals, just to pack their gear.
Right.
Now, the going became exceedingly rough, and it's considered today to be one of the roughest areas in the United States. And you've been over there, Zeb. I've driven through there and
many times
to ride a horse or even walk through those hills with the thick timber the way it is.
Absolutely.
So anyway, they only had 10-day supply of food, and that ran out. So anyway, it became necessary to depend entirely on wild game for food, and that was scarce.
Yeah.
And not only that, but there was only 2 men in the group who were experienced woodsmen. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense in itself right there.
Why would they take off in the first place?
Yeah. But the party had proceeded about 30 miles up the Rogue when, faced by starvation and exhaustion, the decision was made to abandon their objective. Well, 13 men elected to retrace their steps, while the remaining 10, including this Tavalt guy, decided to turn north and try to make their way up to the Umpqua settlements, which they heard were somewhere in that direction. So, you got 2 groups now. So, after days of tortuous and difficult travel, Tavalt and his companions arrived on the banks of the Coco River, near present-day Norway. Now, I looked at Norway, and it's kind of in that southwest area. It's a little bit west of Medford, Oregon. You've heard of Medford.
Yeah. And
so it's a few miles west of Medford.
I was thinking it was fairly close to the California border.
Right. It is.
Yeah.
It's not too far above California. Well, they were tired. They were starved. The party discovered some Indians traveling in canoes, and after a bartering period, which cost them all their possessions except for their firearms.
How do you barter with a group that wants to kill you?
Well, they had stuff. Both had something the other wanted.
Yeah.
So anyway, they still had their guns, but they engaged the Indians to transport them by boat to the coast. Okay, now the, quote, friendly guides immediately sent a runner ahead to inform the downriver tribes that they were coming. I got to have a drink, Zeb.
No, you go right ahead. You're going to have us all driven to drink here pretty quick.
So here we are at September, 14th of September, 1851. Now, it's just a month after they had left Port Orford. Now, the 10 men with their escort Indians arrived at a large Indian encampment about 2 miles above the river's mouth. Now, hailing the travelers in obvious welcome and displaying venison quarters and slabs of fresh salmon, food, the villagers motioned to them to beach the canoes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this point, you got to be maybe a little bit suspicious.
You think?
Okay, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, 4 of the men, including this Williams and Hedden guy, I'm going to talk about them, and 2 others, they were dead set against going ashore. But this Tavalt guy was kind of their leader. He, influenced probably by the food that was so temptingly offered, discounted the danger, and the canoes were beached. Okay, so we got 10 men.
And there were only 10? I thought there was 27.
Yeah, they split up, though, into 2 groups. So this 10 was the ones that we're talking about.
I see.
Well, no sooner had this been done than the Indians cast aside their friendship, and with blood-curdling yells, they fell upon the white men with their war clubs, knives, and arrows. Okay. And in the wild fight that followed, Williams found himself alone in kind of a group of Indians, kind of surrounded. He estimated to number over 100.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the white man Williams, made a desperate attempt to retain his rifle, and in the free-for-all battle for it, the gun accidentally discharged into the ground. Well, when the Indians momentarily... Sorry, Zeb.
No, I got the same problem. Here. Don't worry about it. That's fine.
Anyway, it kind of shocked the Indians for a second, and they kind of stepped back and let go of Williams, and he began swinging his rifle around like a club. Okay. Now the stock, the wooden
against 100 Indians.
Well, by this time he had a smaller group around him. But the stock, the wooden part, was soon smashed. But he still had the 3-foot barrel, and that was a pretty deadly weapon. And he kept kind of pushing himself forward and swinging around after each blow, and he would hit in all directions. And he actually gradually gained some distance up kind of a bank away from the river. So he was kind of getting away. Now, they're kind of the ranks of the encircling Indians suddenly, it kind of thinned out. And Williams all of a sudden ran through the opening toward a dense bunch of trees.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's kind of left his buddies behind and some of the Indians. Now, the ones who followed took up a position on each side of Williams at a distance of about 15 feet, and they were firing arrows as they ran.
Oh, wait, whoa, stop.
So he's got 2 Indians chasing him.
Yeah, and they're 15 feet away.
Yeah.
And they're very poor shots.
Okay, well, you wait till I get to the good part, Zeb. One carried a gun as well, and he had evidently secured it from one of the unlucky white men that were already dead. Well, William stumbled and fell on the uneven ground, and before he could get up, the Indian with the gun had a muzzle against his chest, and the gun misfired. Okay? Williams was able to strike him down and grab the weapon. Now, the second Indian rushed in, but this time the trigger was pulled and there was no malfunction. But Williams made the line of brush and trees and glanced behind him and saw no signs of further pursuit. He wasn't being chased. The Indians by the river were busy with their other victims, and 6 of whom they had killed. Only Tavalt and 1 other escaped in the fight in a canoe. Okay, so you got 2 guys that jumped in a canoe and escaped. You got this Williams.
There would have been 3 if I'd have been there, because I would have never left that canoe.
No. So Williams could stand, but with extreme difficulty. Now, you said they weren't very good shots with their arrows?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 arrow had entered into his body from his back, passed through his stomach, and lodged. This he pulled at until the shaft broke free.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to ask. He pulled it out?
Pulled it out. Until
this is a
the
tough
shaft
son
broke.
of a gun.
Yeah. But the arrowhead and the remaining piece of the shaft remained in his body. So he just got part of it out.
You realize how close it is to lunch?
I'm not done. Another arrow had broken a rib and left a gash in his side. A third had opened up his scalp to the bone. A fourth dangled through a hand. A fifth was driven through a shoulder. Now, they weren't such a bad shot, Zeb.
Whoa. You've already got 5 arrows in this guy.
His arms were covered with knife wounds.
Oh, knife wounds.
Yeah. So just to,
Okay, what else happened to this guy?
Oh, well, we're just getting going here.
Okay.
So standing there, aware of his condition and fighting despair, he heard a voice whisper.
Uh-oh.
Williams. It was that of Cyrus Hedden, who had escaped from the ambush by making a dash through the center of the circle during the first onslaught.
Okay, this is the guy that was swinging the rifle.
Well, there was Hedden and Williams now.
Okay.
Okay, Hedden had hidden.
Hedden had hidden?
Had hidden.
I dare you to try that again.
And the other two guys escaped. So out of the 10, 2 escaped in a canoe. Now we've got 2 that have escaped by running
Okay, so
away.
we got 4 guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're shot up like a piece of cheese.
Hedden isn't too bad.
Oh, okay.
He was bruised and kind of beaten, but determined to fight through and save himself and his friend if possible.
Okay.
Anyway, so they've escaped, all right? Now, for several days, the 2 men struggled north through the trees and the ravines and the underbrush. Nothing to eat, but some kind of a snail, which they found in the woods. Williams managed to eat some of the snails, but Hedden was unable to stomach them. He just couldn't eat these snails. So
could you?
Anyway, no. Anyway, the nights were cold and foggy.
Why didn't they stay in the canoes and go down the river?
Well, in the course of the fight, they beached the canoes, but 2 guys were able to get back in and head out, and the other 2, obviously at this point, couldn't get to the canoes, so they were running inland. So,
oh, my goodness.
Anyway, and you've been over there, Zeb. It's cold and it's foggy.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Hedden slept in the late afternoons, but labored over his companion from dusk till dawn, rubbing him and striving to keep the circulation going.
This is the guy that was shot 5 times.
Yeah. And cut with knives.
Yeah.
And over, the wounded man begged his companion, just let him die, just leave.
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't have done this, so Cyrus Hedden refused that. Anyway, at last, Williams was able to stagger a few feet at a time. Then the pain became so severe that he refused to go further. Well, Hedden had an answer to that, too. So, twisting his own shirt into a sort of a rope, he tied it around Williams, looped it over his own shoulder, and kind of half-carried, half-dragged his friend onward. At times, he packed Williams on his back, and eventually they reached the south shore of Coos Bay. Now, you know where that is.
Holy cow.
There, they saw an Indian camp, and Hedden approached it carefully, entered, and found out from the Indian women that the braves were on a hunt. So he hid Williams, and then hid himself behind a log, waiting for the Indians to return. When they came, now this kind of took some courage. He frightened them. He frightened them into carrying Williams to one of the canoes and rowing them both to the North Strait of Coos Bay.
How did he do that?
I don't know. But somehow he had his bluff.
He should have got into politics.
I guess. So anyway,
he'd have beat Hillary.
Yeah. So Hedden then packed his friend on his back the 30 miles from north to the mouth of the Umpqua River.
Holy.
Although he had to rest every 50 or 100 yards, he would not quit.
You think?
Can you imagine that? 30 miles carrying somebody that had to be at least as heavy as you were, probably. Well,
and the guy being drugged with all those arrows.
Yes. So anyway, They found the wreck of an old schooner, and they used that as a temporary shelter. But the men were sorely in need of food. Well, Hedden set out to find some Indians to make a trade, and all he had was a knife with a beaded handle, and all he wore was a pair of buckskin pants. Well, luckily, he met a boat coming across the bay from the present site of Reedsport, Oregon.
Yeah.
There was a young fellow on board that happened to have on 2 shirts. As soon as he saw Hedden, he beached his boat, came forward, took off one of his shirts, and put it immediately on Hedden to give him some warmth.
It's cold over there.
Anyway, Hedden, eventually, next move was to get back to Williams.
Yeah.
Okay, because he'd left him back.
And he's the guy that's shot full of holes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and that he survived was a miracle, obviously. Bedridden much of the time for the next 7 years. He was cared for by friends and by the Heddens.
He was in bed for 7 years.
Yeah. Well, he was shot up, Zeb. He wasn't going to just jog home.
Well, normally in the movies they're up and going to the grocery store.
Yeah. Well, he died in 1880, and he had he
lived another 30 years.
Yeah. He had a considerable estate, and in his will, it says, to my friend Cyrus Hedden, who had drugged him and hauled him, fed him, cared for him, and he says, I give and bequeath the sum of $5,000.
That was a lot of money.
Oh, that was huge.
Yeah.
So anyway, he died.
How'd he get his money?
I don't know. I mean, originally he was a miner.
Oh.
So I'm thinking he may have had a mine back there where he had left that did well.
And he gave it all to his buddy that dragged him.
Yeah, here's a picture of Cyrus Hedden right there.
Wow. You can tell by his face he's a tough bird.
Well, and of course that's an older picture, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd want him as a friend. Like I said in the beginning,
my goodness.
To survive, you had to have courage, desperation, and friendship.
Who wrote the story? Was it one of those guys? Had to be, wasn't it?
See if I've got.
They were the only ones there.
Yeah. This comes from about 62. A True West magazine that I had, and most of these are taken from original diaries and journals, but I don't see who actually wrote this.
I guess the obvious question is, did they ever get the arrows out?
Well,
I mean, I got to ask you that.
I don't know.
It'd be hard to buy clothes.
I know.
With the arrows sticking out of you.
Yeah, you have to have a hole for the arrow.
Pardon me, I need a triple extra large. Pardon that quiver in the back.
Yeah, see if you can sew around that.
Yeah, that is an amazing story, and that happened over in Oregon.
Yeah,
boy.
And, we've talked before about the bravery and the courage, the stamina of these men.
I'd hate to think about dragging you 30 miles.
And I don't weigh that much.
No. I doubt seriously if you're going to get shot on the way home, are you? Okay.
I hope not.
Call me from milepost 104. We'll drag you.
Okay.
Okay. Doctor of History, great job, sir. Now, next week, everything is well?
Yeah.
Okay. What are we going to talk about next week?
That's a good question.
That's why I asked. You always have the answers.
I know. About next Sunday night, I will.
Okay, buddy. Hey, Doctor of History, Dr. Ken Turner, heard in almost every country in the world because they love him.
And don't forget, you can find me on iTunes.
There you go.
And my webpage, dr-history.com. Got 160 stories on there.
Have we done that many?
Just in the last 3 years. We've been doing this for 10 years. We've probably got 500 stories we've done.
Why don't we turn it into a book?
I don't know. I guess I'm too lazy.
Okay. We get old.
I know it.
Anyway, I've got a break coming up. I need to visit with you for a second. We'll send it back over to Wheels at our main studio for about 3 minutes. Here he is.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And welcome back. I always look forward to Tuesdays in that previous segment with Dr. History. We have a lot of fun, and he is extremely knowledgeable about what happened here in the Old West. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, don't forget Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center for your loved one that might need that little special one-on-one care. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, find out more information, take a tour. 436-3200. They are the only assisted living facility in the Rupert area and the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. And they make every effort to be the best. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Call them at 436-3200. As I stated many, many times on this program, the guests that keep coming back on this show are ones that I really have a lot of respect for because they know what they're talking about. And we have right now a terror and national security analyst, Dr. Herb London, president of the London Center for Policy Research and the author of the book Leading from Behind, the Obama Doctrine and the U.S. Retreat from International Affairs. Good morning, Dr. London. How are you, sir?
Oh, very nice to hear your voice. Happy to be with you.
You know, Dr. London, I got to admit to you that every day is a challenge for me to watch the news and kind of absorb what the news is telling us and not worry as a father and a grandfather about somebody pushing the button and really causing a major nuclear holocaust. How close are we, in your opinion, to having that happen as compared to 1963 with the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Well, part of the difficulty is that during the Cuban Missile Crisis, you had rational players on both sides of the negotiating table. Khrushchev, of course, made it perfectly clear that he wanted missiles in Cuba. But one of the things that emerged from the negotiations is that the United States gave up its missiles in Turkey, and of course the Russians gave up their missiles in Cuba. It was a standoff. The timing, of course, on the negotiations and the pullout of those missiles from Turkey occurred much later. But nonetheless, it was part of the negotiated settlement, and it was a rational exchange. It may have appeared irrational to the public, but it was basically a rational exchange based on the proposition that civilian populations would be held hostage by both sides. Now we enter a very different age. The age is where there are theological dimensions to the way in which people conduct their affairs, as well as a kind of erratic leader of the kind we have in North Korea. I don't think that you could sit down across from a negotiating table with Kim Jong-un. By and large, you're dealing with someone who's very erratic. When you're dealing with someone who's erratic, you cannot count on all of the rational circumstances that you would if you had someone who you could talk to. So again, this is a far more dangerous period, a very difficult period, a very sensitive period, with a great many imponderables associated with international affairs.
Dr. London, what does, in your opinion, Kim Jong-un want? There's got to be a bottom line. There's got to be a what's in it for me. What does he want?
Well, what he wants, there are several things that he wants. And he's learned this from his grandfather and his father. Keep in mind that he learned from two very, very profound extortion artists. One, he wants the world to recognize North Korea as a nuclear power. Two, he wants the world, the West, to provide the food and fuel that is necessary in order to sustain the economy. And three, he wants domination over the Korean Peninsula. So it is very clear what the ultimate goals are. The problem is that none of those goals are achievable as long as he engages in tests. Now, it is very interesting that in the UN this last week, the Russians and the Chinese came up with a proposal. It was called Freeze. It received almost no attention in the press. But what the Russians and the Chinese are saying is that North Korea will freeze all of its testing if the United States will freeze all of its military maneuvers. Now, I regard this as absurd. Absurd because it creates a kind of moral equivalent between North Korea and the United States. That is unjustifiable, and it really is absurd. But on one side of that equation, with the Russians and the Chinese saying we can control testing in North Korea, that could conceivably be the basis for negotiation. If, in fact, the Chinese can do that and can provide verification, that might lead to some understanding that emerges from UN negotiations.
When you look at this overall picture, and I think I've asked you on one of the previous programs I had you on, I asked you to put it in perspective on a 1 to 10 scale as to 1 being not too serious, 10 being doomsday. What are your thoughts today as you look back on what's happened over the last 10, 12 days?
Well, again, there have been additional tests, so I would say we've raised the level of escalation. And I would say we're probably at a 5 to 6 at the moment. Again, this is entirely conjectural, so I'm not sure the number means very much. But I do think that there's a very real threat level. You know, in the past, with you consider the presidents before President Trump, all of them kicked the so-called can down the road, a metaphor I hate. But nonetheless, they kicked the can down the road. Now there is no road and there is no can. There's nothing to kick down the road. The North Koreans have demonstrated they have the capacity to reach the west coast of the United States. They can certainly reach 3,700 miles to Alaska. So the threat is very real. If you're president of the United States, you cannot risk a situation where you put the national security of the United States in jeopardy. So Trump has to act. He has to do something. Introduce extreme economic measures, and then if nothing works, seriously entertain the idea of a military a military attack.
You know, you mentioned Donald Trump and this administration, and Dr. London, please share with me your thoughts. Are you secure in your thinking that Trump has the right people doing the right kind of a job in this situation currently?
I do. I think that the national security team he's assembled, with Mattis and John Kelly in leadership positions, are clearly experienced people who understand the nature of warfare and the nature of negotiation. I also think that Mr. Tillerson has had a fair degree of experience dealing with a lot of international questions and is probably sophisticated enough to understand and to create a kind of measured position on the dealings with North Korea. So I am reasonably confident about the team that Trump has assembled. Again, when I say reasonably confident, that only means that mistakes could be made, but I think that by and large, you've got people with their heads screwed on properly and an understanding of the issues as well as they can be understood.
You use the terminology, their heads screwed on properly, and I guess that opens the door for me to ask you about current Homeland Security people and whether or not they really know their job, whether or not they're really investigating all the terror cells that already exist in this country, from some of the radical Islamists that are here in Oregon, Texas, New York, etc., with all their death camps, if you will. Really, I'm more afraid, if you want to know the truth about these people all of a sudden being called to jihad right here in our country than I am somebody 7,000 miles away.
Well, I understand your position. I mean, frankly, it's a very logical one. Keep in mind that the tree of terror, which Chairman Mao once talked about in 1955, is the strategy of the radical Islamists. What he is saying is the tree has limbs, and it has from those limbs various branches, and it has the branches lead to various splinters. There's no such thing as a lone wolf. All of these people are related to the tree of terror, and all of them are inspired by the ideology of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And so what you have are people who are quite capable of committing evil deeds within the United States. How many of them exist is hard to know. The FBI has identified at least 2,000 cells in the United States. Whether these sleepers will act at some point is very difficult to determine. But there is no doubt there are people within the United States at the moment who are quite capable of causing harm to Americans. And we cannot lose sight of the fact we had a Boston Marathon, we had San Bernardino, we had Orlando, we had Chattanooga, we had Fort Hood. War is here. It's in our shores. We may not want it, but the war wants us. And there's no doubt that we are facing a very, very difficult situation ahead.
I know this is hindsight, and I know maybe the relevance of this question doesn't really pertain to today, but really when you look back at the Obama administration, and quite frankly, to be honest, back to the Bush administration and beyond, why did they, the presidents and administrations in the past, let this problem be exacerbated to a major problem today?
Well, I think by and large what generally happens is people in government are far more interested in being firefighters. They are interventionists when there's a fire. They are not the people who prevent fires. And so when you think about the way in which policy emerges after an evil deed occurs, not before. That is the way in which governments operate. The great and very tragic thing associated with the terrible situation that we are facing is that we've got to use big data in order to anticipate the people who are likely to cause harm in the United States. This is a difficult task. It means creating a whole set of algorithms, and it means looking at our civil liberties in relationship to national security questions. These are not easy things to resolve, but as I indicated, governments do not normally operate with the understanding that you prevent. They operate with the understanding that you put out the fire after it exists.
When you look at the situations in London with the bucket bomb recently on the train and the situations in Germany, and the problems are growing bigger and bigger and more complete every time that there's a terrorist attack, does it surprise you, Dr. London, that we here in the United States have not been hit more often than we have in the past?
No, it doesn't surprise me, because what you have in the United States are people who have been engaged every single hour of every day in thwarting potential attacks. You don't read about the attack that's been thwarted by the FBI or by agents within our government. That you don't read about. You only read about those stories that occur after the damage has occurred. So again, there's an awful lot that is going on in the United States at the moment. But by and large, it is something that is not reported to the public.
Would you say that, according to what we're hearing today with North Korea and all the other incidents around the world, whether it's the fallacy of the absolute ridiculous Iran nuclear deal, etc., a lot of is blown up in the press, and they're making it more severe than what it really is?
But the fourth estate at the moment has no understanding of policy questions. The people who join the fourth estate want the scoop, the big story. They want to be the person who wins the next Pulitzer Prize. So this is not a kind of responsible journalism you get in America. When Trump talks about fake news, he's absolutely right. The news, by and large, is an exaggeration. I can only tell you from my own experience that when I read a New York Times account, in which I have personally participated, I say, I don't understand this because this has no relationship to the reality I experienced. How is it that a story could be so off base? The story is off base because by and large it represents the ideology of the reporter, not necessarily the events that have occurred. You may recall, if you looked at the old Cary Grant and what's her name, Bennett films, that they always said, look, it's not a question of whether, in fact, you have a view of the matter. It's the facts and only the facts. That's what you must give us. But now we live in a Nietzschean world where the facts are irrelevant. It's only a question of interpretation. That's the difficulty that we are facing with the press today. It's an extension of the Democratic Party. It's an extension of ideology. It has nothing at all to do with the reality as it presently exists.
You know, Dr. London, all my listeners probably are thinking what I'm thinking right now. What can we do, if anything, to help make us and our families, our communities more secure from these clandestine attacks that maybe are planned in the not-too-distant future?
Well, there are several things. One, I think it's very, very important for people to be conscious of what's happening around them. Who are your neighbors? What kind of behavior do they exhibit? Are people friendly? Are they capable of understanding issues? Number two, it's important to create community organizations of various kinds, to participate in those organizations that deal with questions of security, local security. And then three, it's important for your listeners to write letters to the newspapers if there is something that has occurred and is inconsistent with the experience they've had. They should do that to make it clear that the journalistic community is on notice and that there are people who are reading those articles and do not accept the positions that are being espoused.
I absolutely enjoy having you every time you're on this program, but tell me a little bit more about your book, Leading from Behind, the Obama Doctrine and the U.S. Retreat from International Affairs. When someone reads that book, Dr. London, and they close the back cover, what is it that you want them to take away from that book?
Well, there are two things that I want them to understand. One, that the Obama administration had a view of history that was somewhat misguided. It was based on this notion that the arc of history was moving in our direction, and it was unnecessary for the United States to intervene at any point. And again, that lack of leadership, that unwillingness to play a role in international affairs has led directly to the chaos that we are now seeing on the global stage. And two, I want them to understand that if the United States does not play a role in international affairs, we are going to have a more hazardous future than ever. So the book really does provide a pathway to the kind of foreign policy that is necessary for a Trump administration, instilling in our allies the confidence that once existed between the United States and so many nations around the globe. It is very important for the alliances of the past to be reconsidered and re-entertained by the Trump administration.
Absolutely one of my favorite guests on this program, very knowledgeable Dr. Herb London, president of the London Center for Policy Research and the author of Leading from Behind, the Obama Doctrine and the U.S. Retreat from International Affairs. Dr. London, please know how much I appreciate you, and please come back in the future.
Always happy to do so, sir. a great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much. Dr. Herb London, and he tells it like it is, and we certainly appreciate his involvement in our program. Thank you. Oh, my goodness, weather forecast. And the weather is brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The telephone number to call, Don Scarrow and the crew, 324-7657. And, of course, you can go to their website, too, scarrowsmeats.com. They have got a great retail meat department over there with all the different kinds of meats. I always pause and look at the bratwurst. They've got all the different brats, jalapeno cheddar, apple cinnamon, German, Italian, chorizo, and all the pastrami's, everything. It's delicious. You're going to love Scarro's Meats in Jerome. Delicious. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, it appears that maybe fall has arrived. Here's your weather forecast for Zebit the Ranch. We are looking at a 30% chance of rain showers for today, mostly before noon. Other than that, hopefully those rain showers will be moving out. Partly cloudy skies is what we're looking at. High right near 56. Going to be a little bit breezy as well with a west wind 13 to 22 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 35. Looking at a high of 55 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Winds are going to be dying down just a little bit. More rain showers are expected after midnight with a low of 36. Tomorrow, again, 30% chance of rain showers, mostly afternoon. Other than that, partly sunny skies with a high of 62. Then for Wednesday night, looks like a 50% chance of rain showers, mostly cloudy with a low right near 38. That is your weather for Zebit Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And again, we appreciate Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarro's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. And they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Scarro's Meats. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to highlight again in some of the time remaining a couple of things that are coming up. Number one, Thursday is Lunch Bunch Day at Denny's Restaurant, and that, of course, 611 North Overland in Burley. And we urge you to come and be with us. Lots of door prizes. Deanne, tell me if I forgot anybody. Smith's Food, Walmart, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, and Doug Martin, along with Denny's with some of the gift certificates. And we start at 11:30 on this Thursday. Don't you miss it. The other that I want to remind you about is, of course, with Denny's Restaurant, Thursdays we have the Denny's Football Breakfast. And I'll ask a trivia question at about 9:15 on Thursday. You answer it correctly, and you win a Grand Slam breakfast from Denny's. Okay. Now, I want to kind of wrap up a little bit more about what we're doing for Hurricane Harvey and the mess that it created in the greater Houston area. And I want to mention that I need cowboy boots. I need a lot of boots. We are booting Harvey out of Texas. I talked to many, many people down there. A lady by the name of Mary Wilson with the FFA in a very large area said, they don't have any cowboy boots. They're gone. They're done. Toast. Underneath 3 or 4 still feet of water at various places. They need cowboy boots. And she was so thankful that we came up with this idea. So if you have a pair of cowboy boots or whatever in your closet that you're not wearing, and they're good quality boots, I don't want anything that's all split and the sides are out and the heels are walked over. No, good quality boots that you just don't wear anymore. Please, I have some drop-off points for you. Take them to, and they've always been so helpful, the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers in Minnecasia, Lane and Rupert, the Twist family in Paul, and Randy, my old buddy over there at Overland in Burley, and they're going to have a big box there for the boots. Tie them together so we keep the pairs together and drop them off in that box. But also, if you have any tack equipment, whether it's saddle pads, good quality tack that you're not using, and saddle pads, bridles, bits, spurs, whatever, they could sure use that down there. The horse operations are literally without any tack in that area, and they appreciate all the help we can give them. We are going to have a truck and trailer go down there in about 2.5, 3 weeks. And Marty Mickelson and his son Hayden, and Hayden goes to Utah State University, and it's a project that he's helped me put together, and they've done a phenomenal job. So that's all coming up. Please take your boots, as I said, to Lane and Rupert, the Twist family and Paul, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers are the collection points, and then we will pick them up, okay? Got you covered. Speaking of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, our major sponsor, they are having a huge fall tire sale going on right now. And, of course, always doing the right thing matters at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. The tires are on sale, like the Eclipse tire for your car. Premium traction, superior ride quality, on sale. You better check it out today. Along with the best, the absolute best in brake service and front end alignments and shocks and struts, batteries. Boy, there is nothing worse when the weather turns cold to go out, turn the key, and it goes clickety, clickety, click, and you're not going anywhere. Check out the batteries at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They have the best. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Let's see who is going to be on tomorrow. We've got Dave Bigo in Indianapolis, Indiana at 9:06. 9:30, we are going to have Crystal Odom. And she is down in Texas in Orange County, and they really got hit hard. And she's got a real sad story to tell about the Orange County Fair and how none of the kids with their projects, they were involved, and then they had to cancel everything with the fat stock sales. She's going to tell us all about that. And then we have Christine Williams coming on at 10:30. So we've got a lot of people, and we need your involvement. So you tune in tomorrow morning at 8:06 right here on KBAR 1230 a.m. and then streaming live on the net all over the world, ZebBell.com for Zeb at the Ranch. And I really appreciate your help. Once again, don't forget Lunch Bunch coming up on Thursday, but if you have a good pair of boots that you'd like to donate, take them to the drop-off points that I mentioned. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, the Twist family and Paul, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, God bless you. And the way things were are the way things ought to be.